And now, as you know, he's running for President of the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Speaker Newt Gingrich. Well, thank you for that very warm welcome. As somebody who went to high school in Columbus, Georgia, right next to Alabama, and then taught at West Georgia College, right next to Alabama, I kind of feel relatively at home here. In fact, this morning when I had grits, I thought it was a very normal thing to do. Although I have to confess, I was down along the coast, so I had grits and shrimp, which is not exactly the Atlanta version of it. I'm delighted to be here. Cliff and I are both thrilled by the very warm reception we've gotten everywhere. And I want to take a couple of minutes of your time. You know, most of you know I almost never use written stuff, and I don't own a teleprompter, so I have to do a lot of stuff just off the cuff. But the President's press secretary today basically attacked me because, as many of you know, I've been talking about the need for an American energy policy and the idea that we should develop our capacity for oil to a point where no American president would ever again bow to a Saudi king. And I have suggested that if we developed our energy capacity to the degree we could, that would bring down the price of gasoline on the theory that supply and demand works. This is not something Obama is very used to. This is not a bureaucratic trickle-down, shovel-ready, Solyndra investment, let's go bankrupt together policy. And the President has made three speeches at a press conference recently in energy, which I'll come back to in a minute. But today, I'm taking a particular note that Jay Carney said the following, talking about the President. What he is not willing to do is look the American people in the eye and claim that there is a strategy by which he can guarantee the price of gas will be $2.50 at the pump. He went on to say the following, any politician who does that is lying, because that strategy does not exist. It is a simple fact that there is no such plan that can guarantee the price of oil or the price of the pump. Close quote. That's been interpreted by the news media, since I am the only person talking about $2.50, as probably being an attack on me. So I want to take this moment to respond to the President and to his press secretary and say, first of all, Mr. President, I would be happy to debate you anywhere in the country, anytime. Your energy speeches have been so patently incoherent that they are indefensible. I'd be glad to meet you at an oil rig somewhere. I'd be glad to meet you at a refinery. I'd be glad to meet you at a gas station. I'd even willing to go to a university campus where you'll feel comfortable. But I would be happy in advance to agree that you can use a teleprompter. But by pure luck, there was a column over the weekend in the Wall Street Journal entitled "Newt is Right on Gasoline," and that column actually outlined the case pretty well. But this morning, Stephen Moore had something in the Wall Street Journal that is so astounding that I want to beg your indulgence. Now, this is not a standard political speech, but I've never been a standard politician anyway. This is what Stephen Moore wrote. In 1995, the U.S. Geological Survey estimated 150 million technically recoverable barrels of oil from the Bakken Shale. That's North Dakota. In April of 2008, that number was up to about 4 billion barrels. And in 2010, geologists at Continental Resources, the major drilling operation in North Dakota, put it at 8 billion. This week, given the discovery of a lower shelf of oil, they announced 24 billion barrels of oil are in North Dakota. Current technology allows for the extraction of only about 6% of the oil trapped 1 to 2 miles beneath the Earth's surface, so as the technology advances, recoverable oil could eventually exceed 500 billion barrels. This is North Dakota. There are bigger plays under development now at Eagle Ford Shale in South Texas and at Wolfcamp Shale in West Texas. I'll give you examples. The Monterey Formation in California may contain 80 billion barrels. So let me start with something that Washington doesn't want to deal with, and particularly liberals don't want to deal with. The idea of peak energy is a stupid idea. It does not exist. It is a technological matter. It has been the basis of American energy policy for 40 years, and it is wrong. Now, the president will never learn this for a variety of reasons. One's ideological, and the other's his choice. He appointed as the Secretary of Anti-Energy Dr. Chu. And Dr. Chu had said before he was appointed, he's an academic physicist, a research scientist. His commitment was that the United States, Americans should pay the same price of gasoline as Europeans. That's $9 or $10 a gallon. Dr. Chu was asked last week what he thought the right price, was he willing to try to lower the price of gasoline, and he said no. He is not in the business of lowering the price of gasoline. He is in the business of developing replacements for gasoline. He then explained about some breakthrough in battery research, which I suspect in 15 to 20 years' time will be useful. But most of us don't have 15 to 20 years to fill up our cars. Now, so first of all, I believe the lesson of where we are is that we should abolish the Department of Energy as a grotesque term. I simply want to start with the premise, no more Cylindras, no more boondoggles. Now let's talk about energy. The president said there are no silver bullets. He's right. But there is a presidential pen. He could sign 3 documents and change the oil trajectory of the United States. First, he could approve the Keystone XL pipeline. That is 700,000 barrels a day of Canadian oil coming to Houston, and it opens up and improves delivery of North Dakota oil, delivery of Kansas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and East Texas oil, so it lowers the price of oil. In Oklahoma, they told me it's probably worth $6 to $8 a barrel by lowering the cost. Second, he could approve the reopening of areas off Texas and Louisiana and the Gulf. That's 400,000 barrels a day. Third, he could approve designated areas in Alaska for about 1,200,000 barrels. And that means in those 3 steps, we've added 2,300,000 barrels a day, over 800 million barrels a year to the U.S. oil supply, and we've kept that amount of money at home to create jobs here rather than sending it to Saudi Arabia. Now, the president in his speeches has emphasized that drilling is not the answer, and the president offered an answer. Does anyone here know what the answer was? All right, how many of you knew that the president's answer was algae? Raise your hand. Now, I believe in science and technology. I believe in biofuels. I think the research is terrific. And I think someplace down the road, eventually, algae will probably be helpful. I do not think this summer we will be putting algae in your cars. I think I am the one candidate who can win this race because I'm the one candidate who understands how to design a very big choice campaign. I worked with Reagan in 80 and 84 on it. We designed it for George H.W. Bush in 88 when he was down 19 points. He won by 6. One out of every 4 Americans switched their position between May and November. The 1994 campaign was a big choice. The 1996 campaign, even while a moderate was losing the presidency, we were getting reelected to the House for the first time since 1928. So let's take an obvious big choice. I want to run this fall on the following energy policy. You can elect President Algae and have $10 a barrel. You can elect President Drilling and have $2.50 a barrel. You decide which future is better for your family. debate Obama this fall. If I become your nominee, I will challenge him to 7 Lincoln Douglas style 3-hour debates with the timekeeper that no moderator. I think the difference is so wide. He believes in the writing of Saul Alinsky. I believe in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. He believes in apologizing to those who are killing our young men and women. I will never apologize for that. We need a candidate who is capable, first of all, of running a campaign that eliminates Obama's billion-dollar ad campaign by proving to people, for example, in gasoline, you can't buy enough ads to convince the American people that they're not paying too much. And that's the kind of campaign you have to run. I watched Ronald Reagan. I worked in the Reagan campaign in '80. I understand how you pick the right fights at the right level and how you make the choice vivid. But then you also need somebody who can work with the Congress to get something done. We are not just in the business of defeating Obama. We are in the business of replacing the bureaucracies, replacing the laws, correcting the judges, and getting back to a country that's on the right track. That requires far more than just having good consultants, negative advertising, and the ability to read somebody's notes. That requires understanding the Constitution, understanding how to take 435 House members and 100 senators, and how to work with the American people. Because in order to change Washington, you have to be active as citizens. We can impose change in Washington, but Washington will never voluntarily change itself. Tomorrow. If I end up as the nominee, I will ask every candidate running on a ticket with me to pledge that they will stay in office on January 3rd, and before I am sworn in on January 20th, they will repeal Obamacare. They will repeal the Dodd-Frank bill. And on the very first day of the new administration, I will sign all 3 of those repeals to clear the slate and focus on getting positive things done to create jobs in America. And on the first day, about 2 hours after the inaugural address, I will sign a series of executive orders. The first one will abolish all of the White House czars as of that moment. We will, on that very first day, move the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem in defense of Israel's right. We will, on that first day, reinstate Ronald Reagan's Mexico City policy, and no taxpayer money will be spent on abortion outside the United States, period. The Obama administration apologizes to radical Islamist religious fanatics while attacking the Catholic Church and right-to-life institutions in the United States. On the very first day, I will issue an executive order repealing every anti-religious act of this administration. Energy on the very first day, I will sign the pipeline for Canada, and I'm telling the Canadians every day, don't cut a deal with China. Help is on the way. We want the pipeline in the United States. I can only do all of these things with your help. The primary tomorrow really matters, and your vote really matters. And I hope you will decide that having an experienced leader who's actually helped do these things before and who is capable of taking Obama head on is what we need as a party, and more importantly, what we need as a country. And I look forward very much